Good evening. How are you? Good evening. We have a 6 o'clock begin. Meeting, please rise. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the BZA meeting for tonight. Virginia, you want to call roll?
Member Hemingway,
Present.
Member Johns, not here today. Member Merritt is also not in today. Member Pulaski. Here. And Member Rack.
Here. We have approval of the minutes from the March 11th BZA draft minutes. Do we have any comments on that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th.
We have a motion on the floor. Support.
I'll second the
Motion second. Good. Mr. Mendoza, you want to call?
Member Hemingway,
Yes.
Member Pulaski.
Yes.
And Member Rack.
Yes.
That's approved. Preliminary hearing for BZA 25-002 developmental standard variance for Alexander LM of Family Dentist requesting variance on section 26-6.701B5 to install a cabinet sign and table 26-6.701B sign type, monument sign, dimensions, and additional standards for the area, height, setback, and material on at 131 Ridge Road. Mr. Mendoza, you want to bring us up to speed on that?
Absolutely. The site is located between Hillman and Forest Avenue along the north side of Ridge Road. Currently, the site has an existing monument, brick monument with a center wood signage for the base. The applicant is requesting a new monument sign to be located 5 feet further into the required setback. This is an aluminum and metal cabinet sign with polycarbon base and vinyl. The original sign with the monument sign was removed. The applicant would need to file for multiple variances in order to staff to issue a building permit, including variances identified here with the height. Limitation of the height is 6 feet from the base. The proposed applicant is doing 9 feet. The standard area is 18 feet. The applicant is requesting 45 square feet. And then additional standards include the setback. The requirement is 10 feet setback from the right of way. The applicant is requesting 5 feet from the right of way. This existing base is less than the upper portion or the sign aspect of the sign, for the monument sign. The cabinet sign, the sign is made of a cabinet, metal cabinet, which is not permitted by code. And then the base is also metal on a pole underneath supporting structure. And then the base on each of these signs is vinyl, which is not permitted material. So the applicant is here to request variances from these. This is a very similar request a few months ago.
Anything from the board and questions? Hearing none. Do we have a representative to speak? If you want to come up, state your name, address, company, and fill in the paperwork there on the podium.
Thank you all for letting me speak today. My name is Peter Alimas. I'm one of the building owners. You all hear me okay?
Put that microphone higher.
I was on. Great. So a couple things I wanted to mention with this new sign is we have a couple tenants that have unfortunately left because of visibility of the sign. So ideally, if we can have something that's a little more visible, our plan would be to attract more tenants to the space. And unfortunately, the current car wash sign that has been built is obstructing the view on Ridge. So we hope that by bringing it up and making it nicer, it's going to enhance the community and not obstruct the current tenants' visibility. And also hopefully bring in some great new tenants to Munster. So that's our plan with this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
how long have you owned the building?
Less than a year.
You're asking for quite a few variances. I believe the car wash sign is the same sign, we're just changing out the letters. Is that right, Sergio? I don't think the car wash was anything different, was it?
Correct.
So when you say you change visibility, that sign's been there as long as the sign you have here.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, not change. I mean, since we took over, we noticed that on the other side of Ridge, it's obstructing the sign we have. And we hope we can spruce it up and make it nicer for the tenants that are there.
So you're asking this, I just want to go over this. You're asking for a bigger sign, you're asking for a taller sign, you're asking for setback. And you don't want to use the routed faces because it says in your thing, that it's a longer lead time for tenants, it's more complicated fabrication, and it'll add cost. Right? So
So,
instead of applying a code, you want it cheaper, you want it bigger, and you want it closer to the street, right? And
so in addition, by making it nicer, we tried to work with our sign company to work with the existing sign, and they suggested that it's going to be more difficult to sort of resurface and remodel what we have, and they proposed this sign to make it nicer for them, for the streets.
now, if this doesn't get passed, are you gonna look at putting a new sign in that meets our codes?
Yeah, we're happy to work with our sign company and accommodate whatever's needed.
Right.
And we just felt this would be our, best foot forward in terms of showing what an ideal sign would look like for the space.
I see a lot of these office buildings by my sister's house in Tinsdale,
Okay,
and the only thing I see in the businesses are the address on the building. There's no signs outside there, and I always say, it's amazing that Hinsdale, my sister could find an office building like this and get inside their accountant or a doctor, but we can't find it. We need bigger and better signs, but people can't find it in Indiana. I'm always shocked by this.
sure. Yeah, I think it also, I agree with you on that too. I think also in terms of, bringing in different tenants, we brought in a new construction group and that's in town, and we feel hopefully we can bring in other ones that might like a nicer sign with more visibility as well.
Anything else?
That's gonna be all you needed me to fill.
Yeah, your name and address.
Thank you all very much.
Bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I always make a motion to set this for public hearing.
We have a motion to set this for public hearing at May 13th. Second. Second. Okay. We have a motion, a second. Sergio?
Member Hemingway,
Yes.
member Pulaski. Yes. Member Rath.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Sergio, you'll work with them, correct?
Yes, we'll continue working, staff will continue advising the applicant on how to be operating more appropriate signage and more compliant. So it's what we've done with BMO.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to see a sign, Sergio, that shows what it looks like.
Absolutely.
Okay, the BZA 25-003 Developmental Standard Variance, Jim Glasscock, WT Group, representing the school town of Munster, requesting variance for section 26-6.4050H V I 7 Parking lot landscape standards. Table 26-6.502. Public lighting head type selection, section 26-6.405Q. To be post height in section 26-6.405Q. And 3C is color temperature at 8823 Columbia Avenue. Mr. Drew, bring us up to speed.
Absolutely. So, the applicant is seeking, multiple variances, let's say about 3 or 4 variances, we'll go through them, briefly. But this matter is before the planning commission for development plan. Prior to any development plan approval, it should receive or, work towards compliance and or receive approval from the BZA for any variances. Currently, the, proposed development plan would take, effect at the corner of Columbia Avenue and 35th Street. For proposed parking lot, enhanced, or expansion of the existing building, storage facility, and the, bleachers, as well as walking paths or sidewalks within the complex, the athletic complex itself. That is what is being requested, for variances on this site. Previously, 6 months ago, there was a development plan for, update of the athletic field. That matter is not for discussion in this application. So this is what's being proposed in the impact area with parking, landscaping, and the expansion of the building, the storage facility building here, and bleachers along the northeast corner of the future. Future athletic field. And it's frozen, so we can have a backup to go to. Maybe requesting from the parking lot, proposing 18 by 9 parking spaces with 20-foot drive aisle for east, two-way drive aisles of 24 feet. The current code requires that 0 angle parking, which is being proposed at 9 by 21. So they would be seeking a variance from the required parking stall measurements. In addition, they're also proposing a variance from the lighting standards. And so let me see if I can explain what's going on with the different standards here. The 3 that you see within the parking lot comply with the color temperature and the height of the variance or of the lighting specs. However, they do not comply with the head type. The current head types requirements are either colonial, acorn, anyways, it was these 3 designs, coach design. What they're proposing is a cobra head design, more of a modern cobra head design for the parking lot. Again, that is what the variance they'll be seeking for is a head type design along with within the parking lot. The other parking or the other lighting fixtures include a walkway. This is here in the red. Those will be 14 feet in height, also 3,000 K. Those are in compliance. However, the headlights do not comply. Again, the headlights compliance would fall within these 3 categories. As you see here, which is doing not permitted. What is not permitted is the proposed overhead and the other lights include wall packs based on fully cut off. Those are in compliance, along the building or the expansion of the proposed storage facility. Those would not require variance. The final light is requested down here. It is on existing field lights. They are proposing another light to light up the bullpen. Again, this would be requesting 57,000 K clear temperature, where again the requirement is 3,000, and it would be sitting higher because of the would be posted on an existing field light, and so we're also programming from that as well as that type because it would be requesting over. In regards to the parking, they would be requesting a variance for the parking. Current code requires every 10 spaces. The parking island includes the landscape area every 10 spaces, as well as at the end of each of the parking aisles. So in this case, they would be requesting variance to not install a parking island, a landscape parking island every 10 spaces, and at the end of the parking island, parking island. So those are the variances that have been identified and will be tested next.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. Any for the board? Questions, comments? Sergio? Hearing none. Representation from the school town, so here's none. Come to the podium, state your name, company, and write the information there on the docket. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim Glasgow. I am principal in charge of civil engineering with the WT Group here before you asking for these variances for the proposed parking lot project. As you can see, this is part of this is basically phase 2 to the baseball field project that is just finished with construction on the site. We're looking to provide a parking lot, some new bleachers, some new walkways and a few other features, the building addition as was mentioned. The main variance that we had come seeking was regarding the landscape requirements. And the reason behind that is one, the school intends to use this parking lot for band practices and off hours. So having the parking islands would disturb the marching band practices. In addition, it creates a hazard. It makes it difficult to plow the parking lot for the school staff when there's additional landscape islands in place. What we've provided is we've taken the required landscaping inside of the islands, placed it around the perimeter of the project to create additional screening from the neighbors to the east and from the roads along the north and west sides of the property. Regarding the variances for the parking spaces, 9x18 is fairly typical in most areas that fits most vehicles. With the limited amount of space, we feel that the 9x18 will provide adequate parking, adequate space for vehicles to park in. Well, fitting within the footprint, we're trying to maximize the number of parking spaces we can get in this area, so that there is parking available for events as needed. Regarding the lights, Brian, I don't know if you want to speak to that. We are proposing a fairly typical lighting package for the site based on our typical design standards. I don't want to speak for the school. I don't know if we.
The only thing I would add.
Your name
Sean Begley, Director of Operations. The one light that we want to face towards that bullpen batting cage on Columbia. Since we put the Musco lights in, they're very surgical. We used to get a lot of light bleed in, so it's kind of a safety issue now when kids want to warm up in the bullpen during the game. There is very limited light, so it's an issue. So we'd like to take one of the Musco lights and point it down towards the bullpen so the kids can see the ball when they're warming up for pitching. And and to mention this, when we did that project, we also pointed some down at the intersections, right by the main entrance and over by where the band crosses, because it was a danger. So that does illuminate that. So we did that on that last project to help, and it's been a big help in getting kids safely across the parking lot from those kids pushing the xylophones going over to do the halftime at that night, and then people coming in and parking in that by door A, getting across the street. It's helped a lot that people can see them crossing. So it'd be the same idea with the bullpen.
So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
what's the standard size parking spaces at the high school now? Are they 9x20? Are they 6x20?
I would have to go out and measure them. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Is your intention to have this lot open when you have events going on at the high school that aren't baseball? And the only reason I say that, after years of being a swim parent, parking at that facility is atrocious during big swim weekends. When you have little league and softball and all that stuff going on, is there
I call
intention for opening that up as full parking?
Yes, sir. I call it those perfect storm days, as you just described, football games. Speaking with the principal and the athletic director, we would predict that would be for 16 to 19 events per year. football games, which can vary between 4 to 6 home games per year. If we host a sectional and if we're doing well, we may host a few more. As you said, the swim meets, you combined the middle school doing something, Little League has something. If we're doing the spring musical, add that in, the parking does get tough. When we did host the boys sectional a couple of years ago, we had cars all the way down to Fran Lynn. I think they were at Frank Hammond as far as the parking. So yes, we would open it up for those type of events. That would be the purpose of the parking lot.
Would this lot be used for student parking during the day?
That's not the intent at this time, we are pretty good with parking. We do have a plan to build a multi-purpose building down the road, which may infringe as we're doing the construction on parking. So we may have to use it as a temporary parking spot for students while that construction is going on. And then another question I know that people have asked is for drop off. Our intent is not to have that for student drop off in the morning. We are having a traffic study done. I mean, I think anyone who lives in Munster and have kids that have gone to Munster understand Columbia between 7:45 and 8 o'clock is a bottleneck, and throwing an ambulance. We do need to do something better. We do have kids that are getting dropped off on 35th because I think parents are just tired and frustrated. So we're trying to work in another phase in another project to improve the flow of traffic around the campus.
You like the emphasis that you put on safety for the students all the way across the board. Seems like you put a lot of thought into that.
I don't blame the parents. I mean, they got to get to work and they're coming down 35th and they want to get their kid to school and they're dropping them off on 35th and the kid's walking down the sidewalk where they're, I mean, it's particularly concerning because every once in a while I got to hop on a bus and drive and I'm coming out of the parking lot and there's kids getting out between cars and you really got to keep your eyes peeled on them and your head on a swivel to make sure the kids are getting out safely. So and that's part of this bond that we really want to improve the flow around the campus for the parents with drop off. Not part of this project. We talked with the principal, this would not be used for student drop off in the morning.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Jim, this question for you. I saw a letter from a resident come through today. I don't know, Sergio, pass it on to you. She was questioning a drainage issue. Obviously, you're a civil engineer project. She basically stated, well, she's watching build out. She's noticed efforts been made to improve the drainage, but she notices like a longer fence line. There's a lot of mud with rainfall. There's a higher elevation between the field and her backyard now. So she had several drainage concerns regarding that. So I don't know how the school is addressing it to make sure between the field and the fence line with the homeowners that there's not standing water there.
True. So our response to that is that the site is not 100% stabilized at this point. So when she says that there's mud in that area, there is. The seed blanket have not gone in. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, I believe those are scheduled for installation next week.
Depending on whether it's muddy.
So that's one of the last things left to do to kind of finalize the site. There may also be the inlet baskets, the inlet protection baskets may be kind of filled up with silt. So it's possible in a heavy rainstorm that there is water kind of ponding up there more than there should be. So we have not reviewed the finalized site. We have not seen the as-built yet. So if there's an issue, we will note it and have it corrected.
And trash is supposed to be emptying those silt baskets out.
They are supposed to be emptying those silt baskets out.
Right.
I saw that letter on the way down here, so I'm speculating. I have not seen in there to verify if that's the case.
Then she just had some concern if you saw the letter about, I don't know if you want to address the batting cages.
Yeah, so regarding batting cages, the one we believe she's referring to is the one along the first base side. That is not a batting cage, that's actually a bullpen. So there will not be anybody hitting in that location. They're just gonna be throwing, they'll actually be throwing from east to west.
I appreciate you answering those questions for us.
Absolutely.
Anything else from the board?
I'll make a motion to set this for public hearing.
We have a motion on the floor to set for public hearing. Is there support?
And I'll second that.
There's support. We have a motion for public hearing. Sergio?
Member Hemingway,
Yes.
Member Foster,
Yes.
Member Rath.
Yes.
Thank you, and working Sergio on that. We do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We have a public hearing, I believe is next. BZA 25-001 Developmental Standard Variance, Mark Smith of E. Anthony Inc. On behalf of orthodontic specialist of Northwest Indiana, request variance in table 26-6.405-1, private lighting types. Section 26-6405Q, full height, and section 26.05Q, color temperature at 9900 Columbia Avenue. Sergio, please.
Sure. This was before you last month on the preliminary hearing. The request for the submission for the variance was in part due to a condition of the planning commission meeting either compliance or obtaining variances for the lighting and signage, or they will provide that at this time. They've just filed for the lighting request, and very similar to some previous interests. They're proposing a head type that does not comply with our current standards. Here are the for requirements for the design head on the headlight type. They are proposing a height of a 23-foot height on the lighting within the parking lot. The standard requires 20 feet high max, and the color temperature is 3000 K. They are proposing 4000 K. So they have all the requirements for a public hearing and are currently.
Anything from the board? Or the public hearing? At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wants to speak, please step to the microphone, state your name, address, and sign the document. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Craig McComas, 9445 Calumet Avenue. I came before this board 6 years ago for the same requirement. I was voted down for the lamp type that we're discussing right here, for the same type of purpose of the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mark Smith with the Anthony on behalf of orthopedic specialists in Northwest Indiana. We are requesting the variance. The light fixture and pole, the entire setup here is what was originally proposed on the first set of drawings before the full revision went through with the construction that took place recently. We haven't deviated from anything from what was originally proposed, and that's what was installed. And basically that's our request for the variance. This is a typical parking lot downlight. Everything within 100 yards of the building has similar lighting throughout Munster that I've seen. This is a typical parking lot light. The light fixtures that they're proposing are typical strip malls. This is more of a semi-industrial application here. So the light that we're proposing would be apt in this situation.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Here.
Yes, sir.
So this, so these lights were in your original submittal package as well as the package that was sent in for permit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so got approved through permit,
There's no permit issue for that.
there's no pressure.
There's no permit issue.
It's never requested.
So that wasn't on the drawings and they set them in there.
That was on the drawings that they submitted in initial plans for plan commission, for development plan, not for variance. At the same time, they also filed for variance from the BZA.
So these are on the planning commission drawings,
Correct.
which I assume going through site development plan, if it got approved through the planning commission, that would go the building department for a permit somewhere?
They started construction without a building. That's why they came back.
Mr. Abbott, if I may, the development plan, once that's presented to the planning commission, if there are any items on there that are not compliant with development standards, that it is a requirement that must come before you. The plan commission cannot usurp your authority as a BZA. It has to be by statute, by law. You are the only body that can grant approval to vary at all from those development standards. So as a proposal or as the big picture in the development plan, obviously the planning commission, in that situation is looking at the site layout and all of those things, but as for the specifics, those have to come through. So that was the issue as with the signage, the same way that they acted on the development approval and went from there in the construction. However, as Sergio pointed out, there weren't permits pulled for those. For whatever reason, those were not, other things were. So obviously, that is where the planning commission previously issued the temporary occupancy. Pending having the signage and the lighting either be compliant with the code or receive variances from this board.
Well, I would guess in the future, if we're doing site development plan review, I guess we should make sure that there's items on there that we're approving that meet our codes, right? Or highlighted or redlined things that don't meet our codes.
That's typically the problem.
Yes, state your name.
Lisa Worth. I work for orthopedic specialist and, regarding the temperature of the lighting, one of the issues that we encountered was that we were previously surrounded by Franciscan Hospital and also a Speedway at 45th and Calumet there. This new location, there aren't many businesses around us. Hartsfield is nearby, but it's further away. There's a lot of empty lot around us. We are very heavily female staffed. We have compromised patients, and because we provide services at night or early morning, we did want to make sure that there was adequate visibility for safety issues.
Sign the document.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone else? Going once? Anyone else? Twice? 3 times. I'll close public hearing. Bring it back to the board. Questions?
That's the petition, one more question, do you mind? I believe these lights are on now, right? Right? So I have noticed my mom happens to be in Hartsfield right now, so I go past this building every single day. I would say they do match the fitness point in Hartsfield, all those ones around there. I don't think the heads are any different than the other ones that are in that area per se, since I've spent the last 7 weeks at the rehab place. Every night being there from before this. I would agree, it is dark back there. That building's set very, very far back off the street. I would like to see their petitioner, look at possibly putting some landscape in that first lot layer. I mean, that is one big stretch of bad seed blanket right now. I think you do a lot to enhance the visibility and look at that property by adding the trees and stuff in that first lot layer. There's plenty enough landscape you can add, and I think make the whole building nicer. But, looking at this head type and seeing that, it is up, I think there's been some mistakes between the builder, the developer, and the town. I hate to say it, I think we got some onus on ourselves on some of this I went through. I sat on the planning commission when site developmental plan went through. I didn't pick out the heads who were different on the plan because I didn't know, probably it met code at the time or didn't meet code. I was gonna put aesthetics and everything else. Same as guilty as anyone else looking at that plan at the same time, but I don't feel that the look of this light in that area affects neighboring properties or anything within town, and I think we might have to start looking at the type of lights that we approve in town, because I think the ones that we approve aren't the best for parking lot lights anyways. You're leaving light out instead of lighting lights off your broadcasting stuff. I think the lights we have are probably the best lights. I don't put those kind of lights in many other buildings that I develop. So, it's like,
Thank you. The board, we have a motion.
discussion.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant this variance. Ms. Bennett, can we make a conditional request regarding the additional landscaping in the green spaces and lot layers?
You can attach any reasonable conditions to the request, in the sense that since it's your option to approve the variance or not, the only standard to that is that needs to be reasonably related to the variance.
Sure. Okay, so landscaping and lights are reasonable or unreasonable? It's in a parking lot. Are they tied together?
I would propose that if you are looking at the landscaping as an issue related to the accessibility, viewing, safety, access as you've been discussing related to the parking lot.
Shielding lights that don't meet our standards is landscaping.
I believe where you're going is that it would be, or that what you're likely proposing would be connected to that.
Is that a reasonable request with the petitioner regarding looking at landscaping and stuff? I mean, obviously you want the most curb appeal for your business as well, I would guess, right?
Absolutely. Our landscaping is not completed yet. We're just now getting hopefully to some better weather. Our intention is to continue to add to that. In order to, sort of come to an agreement, are you thinking more around that entire corner? Just Otis Bowen, just Columbia?
Well, you're almost on a corner lot, so you have visibility.
Correct.
There's no plantings down, obviously, the sidewalk that runs towards Hartsfield, that runs east-west. And I know you have some issues when it comes to, I think there's gas lines and some other pipeline easements down that side. I believe I checked the markings on Hartsfield, but you can kind of see the landscaping that they have on Hartsfield and everything. It's pretty heavy landscaping. I think your lot and your business will look better if you have that first lot layer.
Yeah.
Kind of landscape.
We were thinking both sides, but I wanted to make sure.
Yes, no, I was thinking both sides too. You have Otis Bowen and you also have Sheffield there, right?
Start with fine with us.
Motion, Mr. Raffin, to approve the variance condition upon getting that landscaping, is that
That's my motion.
left to the petitioner to determine, or is
I
that
assume
more specific?
staff and petition. Yeah, otherwise, if you want to send me a drawing, I can look at it.
So at the most staff would recommend is meeting the landscape requirements in the first lot layer based on result. And we were sure that would be applicable as part of the condition to obscure the enhanced lighting request in variances from that. So that's where we would initiate our discussion based on your condition, on the BZA's condition. Anything above that, then we would outline and share with the boards.
That would be fine with me. It's fine.
We have a motion on the floor.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Further discussion? Sergio?
Member Hemingway,
Yes.
member Pulaski,
Yes.
member Raffin.
Yes,
Okay, and please work with staff to get meet those requirements. Thank you. Okay. No continued discussion. We got finding of facts. Findings of facts. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve BZA 24009. And it's 9451 County Avenue.
Okay,
I'll second that.
second on that. Sergio?
Member Hemingway,
Yes.
member Pulaski,
Yes.
and member Raffin.
Yes.
Second.
This Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to pass, to approve BZA 24010 development of standard variance. Mr. Mascars and Doyle signs for BML Harris Bank located 950.
Vote on that. I'll second the motion. Second, okay, Sergio?
Member Hemingway,
Yes.
member Plotkin,
Yes.
and member Rath.
Yes.
New business,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
do a motion to adjourn. Second, shows 6:40, adjournment. Thank you.
Mr. Baker is smiling back there. Yeah, we're on time.
Yeah, I can't hear you back.
You can't stop, or you can't start early, because then the attorney gets upset. No. Hey. That would be nice.
I have a microphone for you.
Right here, right there.
You said bring it on. I don't know if that's acceptable.
I thought you were doing the last year.
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm gonna call this meeting of the Town of Munster's Plan Commission to order for Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. Please set your phones on stun and let's stand for a moment of silence during the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mendoza, nice seeing you. Please call roll.
Commissioner Randy,
Present.
Counselor Hopkins,
Here.
Commissioner Johns is not here today. Counselor Nellens,
Present.
Commissioner Rappin,
Here.
Counselor Schinkin.
Here.
And Commissioner Baker.
Present. Next up is the approval of minutes from March 11th, 2025. I'm sure you've all read them. Any modifications, changes, motions, what say you?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the March 11th, 2025.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes there forever on the website to be seen into eternity. No preliminary hearings today. Next up is the public hearing for PC 25-005, the developmental plan approval. Jim Glascott of WT Group, representing the school town of Munster, heard of them, requests approval of the construction of a parking lot, bleachers, lighting, landscape, and expansion of a storage building at 8823 Columbia Avenue. Mr. Mendoza, we've seen this before, haven't we?
You've seen a different version of this. This is, initial request came in under our first phase for the athletic field, and then they indicated that they would return based on the timeline of the project for the second phase, which is the proposed parking lot, walkways, bleachers, and landscaping. So that is what they're here this evening to present. The proposed project is located in the corner of Columbia Avenue and 35th. This is their proposal. It is 102 parking spaces with 5 ADA parking spaces, 18 by 9 by 18 parking lot parking stalls, I should say. They're looking to expand the existing storage facility, nearly doubling in size. They're also proposing bleachers on the northeast side of the proposed soccer field currently under construction near completion. And baseball diamond field there, they are proposing enhancing the landscaping surrounding around the perimeter of the parking lot.
Where's the soccer field at now?
Is over the baseball diamond, so they will.
Are they playing
Oh, they
games
are.
on the football field or are they playing games on that?
I
field?
don't know that their schedule, but they are, they'll be using both fields at the same time. But it could be interesting. For the season, they will be using, those fields as necessary. But one overlays the soccer field overlays the diamond field, baseball diamond field, and that occurred about 5-6 months ago.
In October, they came and did a whole development plan for the fields themselves that didn't have any parking. Asked about the parking, that was the phase 2. Comment was, what happens if we move the parking if you've already got approval for your plans? It'll be interesting to see how they respond to that.
So they would be able to respond to the need or the purchase of the parking lot currently. Having attended both field or both events, usually work across the street and cross the street, for any of the events. But in this case, the soccer field lays over here. But we're here this evening for the both parking lot, landscaping, and concession stand, or concession area, I should say, or entrance area. Entrance goes to the landscaping and feature location where the well has the storage of the brick building and stuff.
Is that it? Concerns from the staff?
The concerns are that we've identified variances that would be required or as part of any approval. And so we've outlined those in the staff report. Variances requested with regard to the relationship to the lighting head standards on all of the items of the lighting, proposed lighting standards, as well as one of the items with regards to the color temperature, which is 57,000 proposed. And then the parking lot standards require landscape island every 10 parking stalls with the landscape at the end of the parking rows. And so we've outlined that for the variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals. They appear to be this evening before the Board of Zoning Appeals and received a public hearing notice for next month.
We're looking to approve a development plan without those BZA approvals yet or variances, so it'd have to be a contingency.
It would be, that's the recommendation is that the planning commission has a couple options. One option would be to have a public hearing and continue the public hearing to next month based on what the BZA's determination is, making approval contingent upon granting the conditions being granted or approval as presented.
Any questions for staff? I'll start. As class of 80, I was taught critical thinking. So my first question is this the first time that we've seen a development plan that comes in phases as 2 development plans? We haven't seen very many buildings or projects come in from the private sector that didn't include a parking lot. It came back later and asked for a parking. How does this differ?
This differs in the sense that the private sector, they usually build buildings, not athletic fields or parking lots. So and this is also zoned civic zone.
So civic zone has a different process.
Well, they have some different processes than permitted uses.
Because when I asked about parking the last time, that was the next phase, but now that they're looking to do a unique parking space, isn't that a challenge to their existing construction? They've got significant amount of equipment out there.
Yeah, I'm assuming that that would fall into their timeline and they could probably advise you on what their timeline is with regards to construction equipment and beginning the next phase of this.
Thank you. Anybody else for the staff?
I have a question about the bleachers in that, whatever that is, I don't know if that's the outfield or the. Yeah, I mean, from what I recall, in the initial conversation, I thought the bleachers were staying where they were and there wasn't gonna be any concern of bleachers out in that outfield.
So
Is that a new addition?
no, the bleachers were initially proposed down here and they removed that from their initial plans. and relocated them further.
So they took them off by the residences to be in their backyard to move it all.
So they moved it from here over there.
And that was in the original
Correct.
proposal.
Any other questions for staff? Either or not, is there a petitioner to speak on behalf of this? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Jim Glasgow. I am the principal in charge of civil engineering with the WT Group, here representing the school district. I am the civil engineer that worked on this project. As you can see in the plans, we are providing, as you mentioned, a parking lot to serve the baseball field that is just being wrapped up under construction. The intention of that project was to get the fields under construction and completed before the spring baseball season started. The project is essentially complete. There's a few minor grading and restoration items left to complete, a few other things, but the intention is to have the first game played on that field on Thursday, actually this week. So the reason we split the project into phases to come through this process was because we knew that there were questions regarding the parking lot and the bleachers, and we wanted to make sure we could get the field open and operational while we worked with the team at the village and the neighbors to address their concerns and try and accommodate and address them as best as we can. So as mentioned, the project includes the new parking lot, the new walkways around the newly constructed baseball field, the bleachers in the left center outfield, and then the building addition remodeling to the existing storage building that's going to be at the southeast corner of that new parking lot. There's going to be some additional drainage improvements to tie into the system that was designed and sized and installed under the detention system. And there's going to be some additional landscaping, some beefed up landscaping in addition to what is required by code along that east side to help screen the neighboring homes. As Sergio mentioned, we are seeking some variances specifically regarding the landscape islands, the parking lot landscape islands. The reason we're trying to avoid putting those islands in the parking lot is because the school intends to use this as kind of a supplemental practice area for the marching band, and having those islands in the parking lot would be a tripping hazard and make it difficult to work on their maneuvers. We have taken the required landscaping from those islands and help beef up the perimeter landscaping to help again screen the roads to the north and the west, and then the neighbors to the east. Regarding the bleachers, we have relocated that from our original proposal that has been shifted a lot further to the west. And we provided a berm between those bleachers and additional landscaping on that berm, again, to help try and alleviate any the visibility of that part of those bleachers from the neighboring developments, and help kind of deal with some of the potential noise levels coming from those bleachers during events. One thing that we wanted to note with the bleacher relocation, it is shifted from the original location, again because of the reconfiguration of the baseball field, but the participants sitting in that the bleachers are facing the other direction, so the noise being projected more away from the houses than necessarily towards them. Obviously won't completely silence the noise, but that does have some mitigative effects for projecting the sound the other direction. As I mentioned, stormwater wise, we are providing additional drainage through that area. Something we mentioned in our initial submittal for the phase 1 project. That entire field, it drained very poorly. If you look at the topography, it was nearly flat. So there were some drainage issues in the existing condition. We are providing some additional inlet structures, additional grading to help route that water into the storm sewers, help get that into our detention system and bring it down to the creek to help alleviate any potential drainage concerns to the east. Beyond that, I am open for any questions you have.
So there's no soccer field there.
There is a,
Multi-use.
I'm Sean Bentley, Director of Operations.
Yeah.
From the school, so from an operational standpoint. There is a soccer field there that we use for practice.
For practice,
For
okay,
practice
because I
only.
saw the bleachers going,
Correct.
okay.
The reason we would have the bleacher there would be for special events.
Mhm.
We do host a soccer tournament in the summer. It's a a weekend where they would use the football, I call the stadium, because that's where the soccer are playing
Mhm.
all their home games now. They also have the practice field that is to the east,
Yes.
and then this actually runs diagonally.
So this will basically be used for baseball only for games that will bring in
Correct. And
fans. And they will park in the parking lot for safety reasons, so they don't have to cross the street.
well, we would really just use this parking lot. And speaking with the athletic director and the
Mhm.
principal, we would use this parking lot 16 to 19 times a year.
Okay,
From what I call, major events,
Mhm.
football games, we are tight for parking. And then we have some mother of all storm events when we have Little League with the town. And then we'll have Monster Swim Club, or we will have a tennis event, or Wilbur Wright will have something that would be spillover parking that we would keep closed unless we needed to use it for multiple events. We have the Woodruff coming up,
Mhm.
a track event where we'll
Mhm.
have 9 teams coming. We may need some extra parking there. You throw a tennis event in there. We have the spring play coming up. There's just some times where, and the athletic director knows better than I do.
Yeah.
When these things hit. But we do have some conflict with the town, with the Little League, they come and park. When we use the bus parking lot, we double that as a parking lot for tennis. But that gets full pretty quick.
Mhm.
And then we have football, we're all over the place with that, because that does fill in pretty good. So football is 4 games a year, sometimes 6. If we're doing well, we're hosting a sectional game, it could be 7, hopefully
Exactly.
more.
And tennis, the courts are leaving next year, so.
The courts will go on to the other side,
Yes.
correct? So that will
Okay.
get that.
Will there be parking at the tennis courts then?
They'll be on the south side, right by the theater.
The current parking or the current tennis courts,
Are gonna be
when
a
they
rec center.
are relocated, what is gonna go at that location?
A rec center.
That's what we want for the multi-purpose building.
Okay, and there's no additional parking for additional building then? You're gonna move the tennis courts, you're
There,
gonna put more building on it.
we would want to put some more parking in front of Wilbur Wright. In that plan, we're doing a traffic study. We would like to expand some of the flow on the campus in future projects, because currently we have the buses come in and drop off at the middle school, and then they do a turnaround. And it's always, you'll have the parent who, hey, go drop the kids off today. They don't know what they're doing, and they get in with the buses, which is a dangerous situation. So I would like, and I also do transportation over there. I would like to get to a point where we all come in and stop. There's no vehicular traffic coming in with us. And we drop off at once, so we don't have any moving buses or moving cars, is what I would like to get to. And that would be part of projects in the future, should they get passed.
Is the town involved, sir, with regards to those strategic plans as far as how you're handling parking and additional structures for the school town?
We're working with the town, yes. I'm quite sure that I'm speaking for Dr. Heller, he certainly has relationships outside of the organization. I'm more in the staff position, but he has reached out to the town all the time and makes it privy about what our plans are.
Just under the premise that you mentioned parking in front of Wilbur Wright, but it's been a town process for quite a while not to put the parking right onto the streets. So it's an interesting dynamic, that's why I'm pointing it out.
But that's where we are doing a study to see what we can do to better improve the parking.
And that's a project, it's gonna be a couple of years without.
That would be a 27, 28 project.
I had a couple of questions. The band practice, how often do you think that is? Was it most of the band practices in the south lot?
Well, the band is always going to want to practice on the football field. They want to mimic what they're going to be
Game day.
doing at, when they go to state. So they want to be, the band directors want to be up. So they want to be up higher. We also have a practice stand on the east practice field. So they do practice out on that east practice field. And they also have, they practice in the south, parking lot. They have an area there that's, we marked out as a football field.
So is this the third spot for the band to practice then, is proposed
It
parking lot?
would provide us some flexibility that if we needed to practice there, if there were events going on. Ultimately, I'm sorry.
Just jump in, that south parking lot is, when there are events, that's not, the band isn't able to use that because it's full of parking. So it would be great. I'm very excited about an extra parking lot.
And being an old principal, it takes one car, it takes one person to stay for extra help in math and leaves their car in the middle of the parking lot and they can't practice. And they're calling and, hey, you're doing all calls in the building. Hey, license plate YXZ 548, please come and move your car.
1-800 tow me.
Now,
So
that's
anyway,
Mr. Nolan's.
and then having to do with the closing off of this proposed parking lot, is that gonna be, how are you anticipating that to happen? Gates similar to going into
We
the
would keep the gate.
electronic gates that are down?
Well, right now it's at that electronic gates.
Well, I don't know, what are the how do you describe the gates going into the tennis courts if I come off of Columbia?
Going into the tennis
Yeah,
courts?
You're
up and
talking
down.
about-
Oh, those are, the current gate that we have now is a sliding gate on 35th. We would anticipate keeping that.
Yeah, the other gates, kids will get in that field and use it all the time.
Well, I mean, the code is the worst kept secret in Munster. I've already had the bus drivers that hit it 5 times. Comes down a lot quicker, so I would prefer to keep the sliding gate and just open it up with a lock and key and keep better control of it.
That's the best situation for you, for the property. Open as needed.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
I have a question, the MS4 requirements between the staff and the petitioner, have those been met?
We are still working on the permitting process, but they will be met before construction starts.
Because obviously you have to have the MS4 in place before you put the water in the ditch.
Correct.
Sergio, who for the town is reviewing all his civil drawings? Is HW,
SEH.
SEH now?
So
Go ahead.
where's this berm gonna be exactly?
Sergio, can you go to our grading plan possibly? See, 4.0. Yeah, one bar.
We couldn't get 85 pages on this file, Sergio?
I'll try and get you a bigger project.
Is there some, what's the weather the day you did the study? Demographics of Munster, grade?
Yeah, 4.
And how tall is that storage garage?
It's a single storage unit.
It's 2 feet higher than the existing.
And how close is it gonna be to the property line of the resident?
They're already existing and we'll be moving back away from the property line coming towards.
And you said you're gonna put what kind of a barrier there, or is there a barrier there to kind of block it off?
The lands.
It's an extension to the,
Like, yeah,
like
landscape.
an exact extension to the west of the same size, so I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's just going west.
Yeah, so you
Brian,
can,
that's right. DLA Architects.
I'm sorry, say your name again, please, sir, for the record.
Sure. Brian Pensack, DLA Architects. The size is same width, north and south, but it just extends to the
So
west.
as far as it affects the resident, it's gonna be the same end cap or whatever. Is there anything between that and the fence?
there'll be some additional landscaping added as part of this project. So to answer your question, you can kind of see it lightly here that we've got the berm here that we actually ended up building that as part of the first phase. You can kind of see it's in this area here, kind of blocking off the east side of the bleachers. And on this plan, you can also see where the building addition is. It's essentially, it's almost the same size footprint kind of added on to the west side. Sure.
Is there anything gonna be planted on the berm?
Yes, there are some additional trees being planted. So this is the berm.
We could play soccer with
Being
the
constructed currently.
Do we have a detailed landscaping drawing?
Yes.
Good sticky wall.
Which page?
The landscape.
They got the list of all the species and
Yes, and we received some preliminary feedback.
37.
From our initial plan application meeting that recommended using specific native plantings, native plants native to the area. So we've incorporated those plants into this design as well.
So looking at this picture, are those trees there coming off to the south and the east of there? Are those
Yes.
trees?
These are trees. There's some more trees along the east side with some additional shrubs.
And so on that picture, is the berm behind the tree line?
No, the berm is basically under the tree line. It's not showing up on this drawing, but.
So the
these are
trees are
essentially-
beyond the berm?
Correct. So they're, elevated a few feet above the surrounding ground.
And having done some property management over my career, I'd highly suggest something if you do deciduous that doesn't drop pine cones, helicopters, or anything that requires those types of additional maintenance cleanup. It's a pain.
Well, that's gonna be a field turf, so they don't want that.
I was just cleaning off pine needles that we've taken down those pine trees and we're gonna plant new trees along Columbia that are a lot less maintenance and keep the pine needles off the baseball practice soccer.
And
field.
one thing about those pine trees, and you can get some that don't drop as many needles, but they're also green all year.
Mhm.
And you're not doing the leaves, because that's a lot of fun. Any other questions for these gentlemen? Sergio, I have a question. The existing curb cut's been there forever with no real function other than mowers. What's site plan review usually when you have offsetting across the street, ingress and egress to properties? Meaning, it's been my experience going through a bunch of these that you want to try to align them. These are offset. Is that something that causes concern from staff?
There was some discussion on that, and they're within 20 feet of that alignment. I can pull up the aerial. seeing they're using the exemption.
So the variance for the landscaping on the parking lot is for 16 or 19 times that they're going to be using this parking lot, or is it for the band practice?
He said that games, of 19 games a year.
Right. So everybody else has to put those in and irrigate them and do a lot of nice things as far as parking lots in town. And I'm just curious as to why this particular one is a little different. Right now, I'm hearing it's because of potential band practice.
I have a question regarding where the exit driveway is. Is there anything we're doing to shield or protect the residents from the car lights?
We are providing landscaping along that entire east side. If we go back to that landscape plan,
Let me go ahead and answer real quick. So your driveway here, and here's the entrance to the church across the street. And from here to here, and then their entrance. is here.
So I don't want to speak for the councilman, but if somebody's going down 35th heading east and makes the right turn, those headlights are potentially, if it's a night game, are going right into that first house. And what we're asking is there something that could help distract, deflect that?
we are providing trees and shrubs along this side, so those will serve to buffer some of that lighting.
Right, trees won't block it at all, but
No.
depending on the shrubs, as long as they're not spider.
Well, because the sidewalk goes right through there too, so it's gonna really be on the parkway. You're making the turn.
Is 35th no parking on the street, both sides?
So what happens on overflow on game day when the football team gets good? Church part of the night. Do you have a reciprocal agreement with the church for overflow parking?
People have been parking there for years.
They've been parking there, we were both on the trustee board, and they, no agreement, but they parked in there for years, and the buses have idled in there for years.
So that might be a help for everybody involved if there's at least a piece of paper. Lawyers love that.
You were reading my mind, where what's happened for years unfortunately is not legally binding, so if there is reciprocal agreement, I'd like to see it.
You said it's not legally binding?
Well, if there was an agreement in place, that would be a good thing.
Yes. There needs to be.
If it's possible to have use of that, um, when it's available, that would be good.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Bring it back to the board. Then I'm going to open this for public hearing. If you would like to comment on this particular petition, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please. Yes, sir.
My name is John Gralchick, live at 1144 35th Street, just east of the parking lot that's proposed. One of the things that I want to see, if you guys are definitely gonna put this parking lot in, I want to see a barrier between my house and the end of that parking lot. Some type of concrete barrier, guardrail or something, because I'm still trying to figure out how the kid backed into one of my trees when he was going down 35th Street. So with the kids, new kids learning how to drive, I know they're gonna be in that parking lot. Another thing, the tree line that you're talking about, there's electrical wiring that's there. So that's also gonna interfere with that. I tore out all my pine trees that I had there years ago because NIPSCO asked me to do that. So we're going back to putting pine trees in back where I took mine out. So I object to the landscaping that's going there also. So you talked about, some kind of barrier for lighting. They've got to come up with something different than landscape. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. And the marching band, it's out of the question. Because I am not gonna put up with the noise that I put up with at the football field, which I can hear. Now it's gonna be 10 times worse than what it is. They could practice over on the west side of the building, of the high school building, if they want to practice. Sorry, thank you.
I'm Laura Stewart. I'm on Fisher Street at the south side of the field. And my concern has been that with the landscape that's already there, they've never taken care of it. Never taken care of it. That south side of the field, that's their property to the ditch, to the water line in the ditch. And all that stuff is the dead trees, the garbage, there's been metal buckets in there and cones in there, and they've never cleaned it up. We just had the heavy winds and the rains, and it all comes down the ditch to anybody that's east of them. So they don't maintain the scrub on the fence line. The kids climb the fences all the time. There's zip ties holding the fence together. But if they can't maintain that, how are they gonna put all that landscape in and maintain it? And is that landscape doing anything for the students? I think that's a lot of money. They mowed this week for the first time. They blew it into beds that were flower beds through the fence. Clumps of grass and weeds. I mean, I'm just concerned with that. And I wouldn't want to be John's house with the marching band. I did it on the other side and they're across the field. That would be a nightmare.
Thank you.
Pat Capo, 633 River Drive, Munster. My concern is your choice of plant material. It's terrible. I have a degree in horticulture, I know. And the water, I don't know how you're gonna drain the water because it doesn't drain now. And you want it to drain south, then you're gonna go up the hill and that doesn't work. And semi-permeable parking lot, maybe that would help with your water drainage. And I wouldn't want to be the Gralchicks living next door to that. That's insane. And the band, I had 5 kids through band. You want them to walk a half a mile with all their instruments to that parking lot? That's just ridiculous.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Larry Barker, 1149 Beatrice, so we back up to the kind of berm area there. Couple concerns for me, one is just additional traffic on 35th. As part of like preparing for this, I communicated with Mr. Begley actually via email, and then also with Mr. Nolan from the high school. Mr. Nolan mentioned not just special event parking, but day-to-day parking being a challenge, and he made it seem like this would be used for day-to-day parking, which is really concerning. I don't think that any other school parking backs up to residential areas, and so that just feels like a very different situation than 15, 20 times a year, which a lot easier to get on board with that. So I just want some clarity there. I also propose the school parking or the church parking lot across the street feels like a really great test case scenario to have something in place and say, hey, let's do this for a year and see if that actually alleviates the needs before investing all this time and money on a parking lot that's also going to bring with it additional traffic and pollution and all that kind of stuff right up against these houses. And so two concerns for me there. I think that's it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Going once, going, go ahead, I'll wait. Take your time. Please sign the form too, because Denise yells at me when that doesn't happen.
I am Phyllis and Pennington, 1202 Beatrice Lane. I'm not as affected by some, like this, as some people are, because I've got one property between me and the fence. But I have lived in that house all my life, at 1202 Beatrice, and I can attest that the band practice is tremendously noisy, and I hear it where I am from the football field where they typically would practice, and it can be quite noisy. To bring it to closer to north where our streets actually are, it's going to be absolutely hideously noisy early in the morning for people who are trying to get ready for work or want to sleep in or whatever the case might be, if they're able to. And I really kind of object to having the band practice moved from the football field. I mean, people haven't heard enough time with the football field, but that's been that way for decades. To move it north like this and then maybe even a little east, I can't see it. And I don't want to hear it. And I would prefer that they would retain it over at the football field where it really belongs and where it, as far as I know, it's always been. That's just my feeling. And also a neighbor, I think may have been the one who complained about the drainage. I'm not in a position to be affected by the drainage, but I know I have neighbors to the west of me that are affected by it, and it is important that they get that addressed quickly, given all the storms that we have had and are likely to continue to have. That must be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the ban matter is not up. to
Anybody
us.
else would like to speak on his behalf? Going once, going twice?
Mr. Baker.
Yes, sir.
Just before you close, I just want to acknowledge that we did receive a letter of remonstrance from Nancy Calder from 1149 Vivian Lane here in Munster. And she writes a letter in response to the development plan for 25-005 and cites her concerns with the drainage issue and batting cage.
In the batting cage, we haven't talked about the batting cage.
No, the applicant may be able to address those
Okay.
concerns because they are in receipt of the letter as well.
Okay, thank you. With that said, I'm closing the public hearing, bringing it back to the board. Anything with regards to the public comments? I'll start with some concerns with regards to the possibility that the market changes and the school town could decide to have additional parking for students at this location. That's something to take into consideration. both from the school side, because now there's a whole nother aspect of being able to patrol and monitor that's away from the regular student parking. And also with regards to allowing for the band practice that close to some residents. That's a concern. I also have a question on whether or not, and I think we talked about this in October, on whether the fencing along these properties on the east side was being replaced, or is that still pending? And that's all I had.
Mr. Chairman, would the school board consider, right now you got a chain link fence, would you consider putting a privacy fence back so far to shield the lights from? That tree's not gonna have leaves on it all year and stuff like that. Would they consider putting a privacy fence, so far down, at least past the parking lot layer? So when the cars are pulling out of there, lights not turning in and out of there. Your lights are low, a 6-foot privacy fence would keep lights from shining. We did that at Dunkin' Donuts years ago, in South Calumet. Right? Yeah, we put a fence there for the drive-through coming through there, and it worked out fine for the neighbors.
Yeah, we certainly could consider,
We actually built the berm up a little bit to get the fence up a little bit higher in that area, so.
and that was our intent, the berm, to give some privacy for the neighbors up against there. And perhaps we could consider, from the 35th down to the neighbors along where the parking lot will go to block out the area. The complete fence replacement would be a substantial cost, and I don't know if we could do it, but I think we could price that in along the parking lot.
Do you know when the last time that was replaced? Because it's been around for a while. It hasn't been replaced in 20 years.
No, I don't know what it was, but I actually was walking around with the fencing contractor today, looking at that to see if we can get it repaired and tightened up, especially around Columbia and all over.
Right. And then, what about like a berm even, to the point where you raise it up a little bit? I mean, it'll be a draining thing, and I'm sure the civil engineers from Illinois that realize this is not a village will be more than happy to take a look at that to see if there's a possibility of doing that to provide some additional sound barriers to the residents there.
The problem with providing a berm in that area is that everything kind of drains to that east side. And to avoid potentially causing water to pond onto those neighboring properties, we need to maintain that as a
If
swale.
it drains to the east side and you have a berm, that would hold it right there. It'd be a great place for a catch basin to run it down to the ditch.
Right, but getting a berm, there's not enough space to get a berm high enough to actually block the lights.
Oh, you have to
And
put a
maintain
fence on
drainage
top. We're
there, so
trying to
you
get
have
that.
to create a ditch and then.
Right, so the ditch goes up, you have a berm, I understand there's only so much to the toe. And then maybe you do a fence on top, or you put some landscaping like you had proposed inside of the development to be able to have some more height to be able to provide some help to the resident.
The other problem is we want to make sure we're not blocking drainage from his backyard. By putting a berm in that location, that water that's draining from the east into the property would be blocked by a berm. The problem is that there's very little elevation.
Properties are east of the berm. The residents are east of the berm. So if everything goes east, it'll go away from the berm theoretically.
Right, but their backyards, if they're pitching into the site, we put a berm there, it's gonna be blocking drainage, and we're gonna be creating a drainage problem in their backyard.
Without inlets on both sides.
Without inlets on both sides.
That would have to be addressed, and that would be on the petitioner to take care of that, and not leave the neighbor flooded backyard.
And that's why we've not provided a berm. I think, as discussed, a potential, privacy fence could serve that same purpose.
Years ago, when the field used to flood,
Hold on, ma'am. Hold on, ma'am. This isn't that type of a thing. So we had our chance. So let's work through this process. Welcome to the government. Anything else from the board as it relates to what we're trying to accomplish here? To the petitioner.
Well, I mean, I think that, from 35th Street to the south, for a parking lot down there, I think a privacy fence would be the right thing to do to keep lights out of there. You can still put trees in front of that, but at least you got that extra protection for privacy. And you remove the existing chain link fence, put privacy fence off of that area.
we talked about this in October. Is the school town met with the residents along this property line? Or is this the forum for that?
We did meet with the neighbors during the first hearing or the first attempted hearing. And then we've obviously had some input from the neighbors at these meetings as well.
And Dr. Heller has reached out and spoke with some neighbors.
But these are the same things we talked about in October.
Correct.
Okay.
But addressing the concern along that east side, we just discussed, we can add a privacy fence there, from 35th Street down probably to roughly where the building is going. I think that would meet your goal in blocking that light.
Ms. Bennett, don't we have a code? Because I'm working with the residents of West Lakes with the train, having a privacy fence from the parking lot to the residents. Isn't there already a code, or Sergio?
That would mandate that,
Yeah,
not my code.
It just runs as a screen,
okay,
so not.
So the screen could be fencing.
Yeah.
could be,
Okay.
Trees could be,
Okay.
landscape wall, could be berm, all sorts of things, but
Okay,
not.
thank you.
mandate the fence.
And a privacy fence, there's a lot of different definitions of what that looks like. And what that costs. So checking the box is one thing, and moving down the process, it's another thing that you gotta look at it every point.
But a privacy fence is something that we could put in. Fire. Yes.
A lot of things we could put in the requirement.
So we would typically suggest a 6-foot board on board fence in this sort of situation. We've done it on numerous projects where we've had this kind of concern.
Cement board more than wood board, right? Well, because wood, you're gonna have to paint, it rots, it's not a very good long-term play. It's cement board costs more, but you don't have to do anything with power wash. Just an FYI. All right, folks, what say you? I get,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue this because there's outstanding items with the BZA right now that would give us time to ponder and let the petitioner come back to us next month, showing how he's gonna address the privacy fence issue along the east side. I mean, BZA also has a hand in this to make sure the variances are granted prior to this board looking at the final determination from them. So we have another month to be able to look at. I don't think that stops you because if you don't get the variances, you're gonna have to change some things around anyways. But I think it's in the best interest of this board right now to consider that.
what is the goal of the school? How quick do they want to get this done? Or was the baseball field getting that ready for opening pitch tomorrow?
Right, that was our main
Throwing out the
concern,
ball.
that we were tight between soccer and baseball. So we'll get a fence topper on Thursday and we'll be ready to play. We will have JV Thursday and then
Mhm.
I don't know if we're pulling, we canceled Halbert, so it might be Hobart or it might be Valpo Friday.
Asphalt plants aren't open yet.
Pardon?
I said asphalt plants aren't open yet, so paving season has not started, so I don't think that hurts you with putting this parking lot out right now, getting ready for get it done, right?
hi, Mr. Rapp, was that a motion or a suggestion? And then also, Mr. Mendoza, is it possible to get SEH as the town's engineering to provide us a memo of their assessment of this drainage plan, since we're taking a whole bunch of pervious surface and changing it? Because this is all astroturf too, isn't it? Okay. And then we got also have them as it relates to this development plan as well with the parking lot.
You can have them, they provided, that they reviewed the drainage plan, which includes underground chambers for storage of the water facilities. or the stormwater runoff, but we can have them summarize their findings and put them in the.
And I'm interested in knowing what's the increase in volume now that they're anticipating based upon these submittals before it gets to the ditch? Are they looking to hold it anywhere so it just doesn't rush downhill and get there as quick as possible? You know where I'm going.
We'll get to that.
All right, I'm sorry, Mr. Rath, is that a motion?
That was a motion.
All right, I'm sorry, you're-
Right, if I can interrupt.
Sure.
Before you call for a second, Mr. Rathbun, I would ask if you would add to your motion then to reopen the public hearing and leave it open to be heard again or to be available for public comment in the next hearing.
I will amend my motion to open the public comment regarding the continuance.
So there's amended motion, is there a second? Or once,
I'll second that motion.
a motion and a second, any discussion?
I do want to make a comment about the permeable parking lot. We didn't have very good luck with that down at Centennial Park. They had to get out there and pressure wash it, get the sand out of it and everything else, so. I mean, it sounds great, but our experience with it here in this area, it's not been so good.
Maintenance wise, it just deteriorates real quick too. Sounds good, but it gets clogged and it gets full of salt and schmutz.
Speaking of one that's built several of them, I never had one.
All right, there's a motion and a second, any discussion? Either none, Mr. Mendoza.
Commissioner Brannigan,
Abstain.
Councilor Hopple,
Yes.
Councilor Nellens,
Yes,
Commissioner Rath,
Yes.
Councilor Schinkin,
Yes.
and Commissioner Baker.
Yes. Thank you, folks. Please help us with this. We can make it move quickly as possible. Next up on the agenda is continued discussion items. Mr. Mendoza, is there something on that or am I skipping over that?
You were skipping over.
Any other business for the board? Bring it up now. Either none. Next up, finding facts, PC 21-006, the development plan approval, the amendment to the conditions for mid-shot HP Munster Investment received an amendment to the conditions of the development plan approved under PC 21-006, removing the living wall requirement at 9420 Caligan Avenue.
Chairman, make motion approved.
There's a motion to approve the findings of facts of this. Is there a second? And a second. Any discussion? Either none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Giddy up. Next up for finding of facts is PC 25-002, the rezone of PUD for David Adi Powers Health received a favorable recommendation to the town council for a rezone. CD 4A to PUD for Powers Health, 800 MacArthur Plan Unit Development located at 800 MacArthur Boulevard. So I'm assuming the town council passed that, Mr. Mendoza?
No, this is going before them, with the findings next, before the study session next week, and then on their, April 24th agenda.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, motion approved.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second, any discussion? Either none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Let's go. PC 25-004, the final plat for David Adi of Powers Health received approval of final plat for Powers Health 800 MacArthur, Lot 1 located at 800 MacArthur Boulevard.
Chairman, make motion approved.
Approved. Is there a second? And a second, any discussion? Either none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? None. Giddy up. Next regular meeting is going to be in May on the 13th, 2025. Let's do a motion to adjourn.
So.
no, second.
And all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you for helping us make Munster a better place. Thank you for investing in the town. Yay. See you next month.
Thanks for including me in the moment.
Trying to spend everything before you get the budget ripped out from underneath you.
Not those shiny objects.
Huh? All funds to. Yeah, an issue, like I think, and everything, you guys too, you guys have a hard time. What's that? From all this, I'm reading all this state re-budget work and how they're doing stuff.
They're doing fine.
No, this is the new state stuff coming.